Erik Halterman of RotoWire here with some more trade tips for you. We'll follow the same format as last week. One traditional buy low, one buy while you still can. That's not a buy high, but a buy before he gets even higher. One traditional sell high and one sell while you still can. Let's mix it up though and start on the selling side this week with our sell high, Hunter Greene. And I'm a little uncomfortable saying this because I drafted a ton of Hunter Greene this season and I think he's going to be very, very good. A former second overall pick who's continued to evolve throughout his time in the majors and is now in his age 25 season, sign me up. But here's the thing, in draft season, you could get Hunter Greene as your second or third starter. He was the SP25 in the NFBC main event. After just 3 good starts to open the year, he's all the way up to third in the NL Cy Young odds, which is a great proxy for how excited is the general baseball watching public about this guy. We can't forget the downside with Hunter Greene, which is that he throws incredibly hard. He's averaging 99.4 with his fastball this season, and guys who throw really, really hard get hurt more often, unfortunately. Greene himself has topped out at 26 starts in his major league career, and he had Tommy John already back in the minors. He's not a particularly durable guy, so as exciting as his start is, it's done nothing to diminish fears that it could all evaporate without warning, and you're left with nothing. So while it's painful to sell, while Hunter Greene has a 1.31 ERA, an 0.63 whip, and a 31% strikeout rate, this is your window to get someone with a much higher floor who was drafted several rounds earlier. Another player I would consider selling is Corbin Burnes, but this is more of a sell while you still can, sell before the price gets even lower. Now, in a more beginner's league, you might have to wait for Burnes to have at least one good start before selling him, because a beginner's going to look at his 5.79 ERA and want no part of him, even though it's only been 2 starts. And the reason I'm selling here isn't totally because of that ERA, it's because of the direction Burnes' career has trended over the last several seasons. I think he was overdrafted based on memories of who he was in his mid-20s, or based on placing too much trust into his 2.92 ERA last year. That ERA came with a 3.75 SIERA, which is the best ERA estimator out there, arguably, and he had a 4.02 SIERA the year before that. Burnes' strikeout rate over the last 5 years went from 37 to 36 to 31 to 26 to now 23% last year. It's still at 23% after his first 2 starts this year, and he's also walking 15% of opposing batters. Burnes also is showing a little bit less velocity through his first 2 starts. His cutter is averaging 93.8 miles per hour. That's down a tick and a half from his 95.3 last year. Now, you might say, well, he's a veteran who's throwing a little bit slower in April, but he's going to ramp it up over the course of the season. Maybe, but last year, Burnes averaged 94.9 through the end of April. It was down to 94 in September, so actually this looks like a continuation of a late season problem from last year. And altogether, Burnes looks to me like a 30-year-old former ace who's not quite in that same tier anymore. So I'd be trying to move him to someone else in your league who still thinks of Burnes as the same pitcher he was when he was 25 or 26. I'll get to my 2 players to buy in a minute, but first I want to remind you that we've got all sorts of tools over at rotowire.com to help you with your trade decisions. I personally am a big fan of our My Leagues page, where you can upload your leagues and use the trade finder to see a list of trades that our projections think will help your team. If you're interested in signing up, we've got something new for you, a promo code. Enter the code ROTO15 at checkout to receive 15% off any RotoWire product. That's ROTO15. Now on to the buys. I am going to suggest that you buy low on Willson Contreras. He's been just plain bad. There's no getting around it, but a player's been legitimately bad over a sample that's still too small to get overly concerned about. Makes for a great mid-April trade target. Contreras' strikeout rate of 44% is awful. There's no getting around that. And strikeout rate is one of the stats that becomes important to look at early. But we're still so early that we're not even to the stabilization point for that mark yet. And remember, even after a stat has stabilized, all that means is he earned his poor performance during that sample. It doesn't guarantee that he's going to remain that poor over the next sample. Contreras has played just 11 games, which is still very much a small sample, one that could just be a slump. Now, he has earned that high strikeout rate. I want to be open about just how bad this poor poor start has been. Contreras is chasing 44% of the time. That's up from a career average of 34%. His contact rate on pitches in the zone is down to 75%, below his career average of 81%. But to me, this looks like a player who's just pressing a bit at the plate as he gets used to being an everyday first baseman rather than a catcher. Contreras looks like a player who knows that he has added offensive responsibilities this season, given his new role, and he's simply trying to do too much. I think you have a brief window here to get a real discount from an owner who sees Contreras' .093 average and wants to get out while they still can. Speaking of while you still can, I would look to buy Tyler Soderstrom before the price rises to unacceptable levels. Soderstrom was a popular pickup at the start of the season, and you should go pick him up right now in a shallower league while he's still out there. But in a deeper league where Soderstrom was drafted late or perhaps picked up right away, I'd send out some exploratory offers. You're definitely gonna have to pay up beyond his draft price, which again might well have been zero, but I'm pretty sure Soderstrom's price will only go up, so offer now before his owner is sure that he's for real. Soderstrom through 12 games is hitting .378 with 6 homers. He's not going to hit .378 the rest of the way, but he might not be a liability in batting average like he was expected to be. In 45 games 2 years ago, Soderstrom struck out 31% of the time, but he got that number down to 25% in 61 games last year, all the way down to 20% so far in 12 games this season, which is a better than average mark. Combine that with a 17% barrel rate, which is nothing new for Soderstrom. He had a 15% barrel rate last year, so that power should be very real. So when you have very real power that's always been there, paired with an increasing ability to make contact for a player who was a real prospect and is still just 23, this is very, very exciting. Only negative here is that Soderstrom might be hitting so well that any hopes of him getting into enough games behind the plate to qualify at catcher might be decreasing. If I'm the A's, I just install this guy as my everyday first baseman and number 3 or 4 hitter and let him mash. And that's exactly what he's doing. Go grab Tyler Soderstrom before it gets too late. That's going to do it for today's video. Let me know in the comments below if you managed to swing a trade for any of these guys. And remember, promo code ROTO15 gets you 15% off a subscription at rotowire.com.